Thank you very much for staying with us. Nigeria's electricity subsidy bill is climbing fast, now nearer 2 trillion naira a year, and this has raised serious questions about affordability, sustainability, and who ultimately bears the cost. It's also important to say this is happening amid the federal government's struggles to pay the over 4 trillion naira debt owed to power generation companies. Now let's break it down. According to the quarterly report released by the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, in the fourth quarter of 2024, covering October to December, the electricity subsidy incurred by the government was 471.69 billion naira. It was 536.4 billion naira in the first quarter of 2025 and 514.35 billion naira in the second quarter of last year. The latest report from NERC released on Tuesday showed that the federal government incurred a power subsidy burden of 458.75 billion naira in the third quarter of 2025, making a total of 1.98 trillion naira in the 12-month period from October 2024 to September 2025. And believe me, this is a major concern. Is the subsidy helping consumers or hurting the power market? What are the economic and policy implications if it continues at this pace? And what realistic options does Nigeria have going forward? To help us unpack this, we're joined by Professor Yemi Oke, Professor of Energy and Electricity Law and Practice at the University of Lagos. He joins me virtually from Glasgow, the UK. Good evening to you, Prof. Good to see you again. Happy New Year to you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year, and thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. So, Prof, I may be wrong, but as power tariffs remain politically insensitive, the government is spending more to keep prices down, even as supply challenges persist and the sector keeps struggling with liquidity. And, reality is that Nigerians love the idea of subsidy. The idea is that government must subsidize everything. But is this good for us? Is this the way to go as a country in a hurry for prosperity and economic development? Please help us unpack.
Again, thank you for your question. I'm worried. I'm worried from the point of view of somebody who is, of course, by institutional responsibility. We should know enough. We are assumed to know enough about the challenges we are facing or might likely face. I'm worried because the signs out there are not kind of pleasant. We have that obligation as patriotic Nigerians to voice out these kind of challenges. It should worry anybody that still in a supposedly privatized power sector, Nigeria is spending close, if not 2 trillion naira per annum in subsidy. If the entirety of the power sector is subsidized, then we should be spending the entirety of our national budget. That's not healthy. That's not the way to go. And I have serious issues with the kind of humongous, unsustainable subsidy we have in the power sector. It's one subsidy too many in the entirety, the corpus of energy itself. We just got done away with the subsidy regime in the petroleum sector. Now we've started amassing huge subsidies in the power sector. Why that at this point in time? Simultaneously, Nigerians are complaining about insufficiency or the lack of reliable, adequate electricity. Just today, I read in the news that power generation dropped by 6.1%. And we're still not generating beyond what we were generating and distributing before the privatization. Now, we are spending so much. My worry is that about the same time, the federal government is now seemingly trapped in to me, the figure is not acceptable, but on paper, the Nigerian government is now exposed to 4 trillion naira in debt to the generation companies. That's a kind of legacy debt. And this sector is just not viable because most of the players are technically insolvent. Are we going to continue like this as a country? The answer is no. Can we really develop without fixing the power sector? The answer is no. And my challenge is that I'm not seeing the kind of vibe I expected to see in the power sector. All what needs to be done, the ideas, the information, the knowledge-based research document, they are all out there in the public domain. I would give in to players. It's not about our personal interest as industry players, but anybody can get in there. Let them go and implement those policies, those suggestions, those recommendations. Now, we are seeing the vibes at the level of the CBN. CBN says Nigerian banks go and recapitalize to the tune of 200 billion naira. I will always give it to Soludo, Professor Soludo, the governor of Anambra State. When he was governor of the central bank, he started with the consolidation. He forced Nigerian banks to capitalize to the tune of 25 billion naira. It was a lot of money then. A lot of banks went under. A number of them merged. Today, Nigerian banks are saying, thank you, Professor Soludo, for that ingenious suggestion. As a patriotic Nigerian, that was what he could do for the country. Nigerian banks are now competing regionally and globally. Nigerian banks are now acquiring banks in Togo, in Liberia, in South Africa, and they are doing well. They are now declaring billion naira in profit. But they thought Soludo was doing them a disfavor, a disservice, trying to undermine their business when he forced them to go into consolidation. Nigeria is happier for it. Now they're now going for recapitalization of 200 billion naira. The banking sector is growing because the regulator, the CBN, did what ought to be done. There and then. We are seeing the same vibe in the tax regime. Nigerian tax regime, we say, oh, we can't continue with this kind of tax regime that we have. We now have new tax regime coming on board. Reforms, active, serious reforms that are verifiable happening in that regime. The same thing in the Nigerian Communication Commission. We can't point to significant policy vibes, policy direction or redirection from the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission (NERC) as a regulator, as a core industrial regulator. And I'm worried. Their first report is out. It's not a good report because it says we are dropping in terms of generation by 6.1%. Yes, government has spent so much, the debt profile keeps increasing in trillions, and none of the discos is still viable. Most of them are technically insolvent. They are under receivership. Gencos are in huge debt.
All right.
So we need to move forward.
Right. So I get your point, Prof. I mean, 2 trillion naira a year is an enormous figure. And from the economic standpoint, we're asking, is this good for us as a nation? But on the other hand, is Nigeria getting value for money from this electricity subsidy? The subsidy is presented as poor. But in reality, who benefits the most from this electricity subsidy? The poor or high consumption urban users?
That is my worry. See, the reason why those of us who are industry players or industry experts, questionably, the reason why someone like me, I'm really worried. Is scary. The pictures I'm seeing in front of us is not. It's scary. It's not the way to go. One, here is a country that is still challenged in terms of amassing enough resources for defense and security. That is a country that is still looking for money to adequately fund education in Nigeria with the student loan, the university lecturers and the rest. That is a country that is still challenged in terms of having enough resources for the health sector. The same thing, Nigeria is still challenged in terms of enough money for infrastructure, roads and the rest. That is why the tax regime is coming on board so that government will have enough in its pocket. And we are now spending much more in a sector that is supposedly privatized. Those are not good signs. Nigerians are not getting value. You and I are not getting values. We've just been playing games with terminologies from band A to band B, or band B to band AB. Maybe now they're going to bring on board band double A plus. That's not the way to go. And let me go the way of the law now. The reason why I'm not happy as a Nigerian is the fact that there is something that ought to have happened as a matter of law. Granted that the old law was not okay because it wasn't really meant to do the magic in the past, but we thought that law was repealed and we now have the new law. But even in the old Electric Power Sector Reform Act of 2005, there was a legal framework that was put in place called PCAF. PCAF is Power Consumer Assistance Fund. That was a pool of money meant to give subsidy to eligible Nigerians. From 2005, when it was part of the law, until the law was repealed, it was never put to use. It was never effectuated. Gladly, in the Electricity Act of 2023, signed by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, PCAF is retained. PCAF is retained in Part 15, particularly Section 122 of the Electricity Act. As I'm talking to you, that framework has not been put in place.
All right.
So what I'm concerned is this. Going forward, okay, maybe I should hear you before I put
quickly, so I do not forget or lose this line of thought. There is this question I would like to ask. If today, as an industry player, as an industry expert, you're said to me tonight that electricity subsidy is not sustainable. The Minister of Power, Adebayo Adela, was also, repeatedly pointing out that electricity subsidy was no longer sustainable for us as a nation. Who is the federal government listening to? Do you think that the federal government or this administration knows this, but does not want to remove this subsidy because of the way Nigerians have reacted to the first subsidy removal?
That is exactly no. I say things that ought to be said from the point of view of knowledge. I don't just argue. I don't just criticize. I'm not criticizing. I'm saying that's not the way to go. This is the way to go. Definitely, the subsidy, humongous subsidy in the power sector is not sustainable because we have serious debt overhang that government is trying to handle. We've not really been able to successfully handle this. Then we are not having this challenge. The way to go, assuming federal government is interested in the subsidy, then the subsidy has not been channeled in the right approach. It's not going to the channel or expected homes or to eligible Nigerians. The same way I have serious issues with the 4 trillion naira debt owed to the Gencos. They may not like what I'm saying. I don't need them to like what I'm saying. I don't hold that in my duty. I hold a duty to my country and to my conscience. The 4 trillion naira government is allegedly owing the generators, the Gencos. I'm disputing it.
Okay.
They are owing, but not that humongous amount. The 2 trillion naira subsidy per year is humongous. It's not acceptable. It's not real. We need to do more and verify. The way to go, since we have consumer assistance fund as a matter of law embedded in the law, it is law. It is a matter of law, not a matter of policy now. It is the law, which the law says should be in place for underprivileged Nigerians. The way to go is this. Now we are having tax reforms. NERC should sit with the Nigerian Revenue Service and appropriate agencies. Let us identify eligible Nigerians. Eligible Nigerians will be determined by the amount of tax they pay. So if you are not paying tax or you earn below a particular threshold, then will determine the kind of subsidy that you need for electricity. It will also make Nigerians to be tax compliant, because you can't access subsidy in the power sector unless you are filing your tax. It will be obvious and apparent what you make. It will also show that you are actually an underprivileged Nigerian who needs subsidy by way of electricity for electricity consumption. Once you have your BVN, you have your NIN, then those will be calibrated into the meters. And you know that, oh, you earn 20,000, 50,000, 150,000 in a month. So government should give you like 5% subsidy in your electricity consumption based on the calculation of the megas of the tariff methodology. That's one. Two, we can now put that in all over the world, even in developed countries, including the UK, where I am presently doing some academic stuff. Subsidy is given. But once you are charging or getting your electricity bills, you will see the quantum of subsidy that the government gives. It's not rocket science. Since we have pickup in place, through the tax regime, they should identify eligible Nigerian based on their tax position or earning position, identify the amount of subsidy that should go to them, and once they are recharging 5,000 naira, they may be getting direct subsidy of 2,000 naira, and that will show when they are charging electricity, and that will reduce the waste, that will reduce the fraud in the system. Since we have pickup, let us operationalize pickup and stop this hemorrhaging waste.
But quickly, Prof, in less than 30 seconds, what happens if government does nothing?
This is a listening government, though. This is a listening government, and this what I'm saying, I'm going to put it in a paper. I'm going to do an open letter to the NERC. I'm going to copy the president. I'm going to copy the minister. I'm going to copy the chairman of Nigeria Revenue Service. I'm going to copy CBS, copy the minister of finance. I'm going to put it in the public sphere. What we need to do so that this fraud of the subsidy will stop. It's not sustainable. It's still in the country. We need more money.
We wish you all the very best, Prof. We wish you all the very best, Prof. And thank you.
It's our country. We'll keep pushing. We can't
and thank you very much. You're right. Thank you very much for the effort. Professor Yemi Oke is a professor of energy and electricity law and practice at the University of Lagos. Thank you so much for speaking with us tonight. Please have a great evening.
Indeed, a pleasure. Have a lovely day.
And thank you very much for watching, everyone. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But before we go, let's tell you that the views and reactions of our resource persons are theirs and have no connection with TVC News. Meanwhile, you can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode at 12:30 a.m. Get in touch with us on our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, and X at TVC News NG and at Olajumo Kedobu using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News NG. I am Olajumo Kedobu. Good night, everyone. I'll see you again tomorrow.